Good morning. How are you? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. I don't know what the weather's like with you, but I'm Angela and good morning to today's Knit and Natter. This is Gogglefrogs Knit and Natter. This is week 19. We start week 19 today. So 19 weeks ago today, we started our online Knit and Natter. Because we weren't going to be able to see everybody, were we? We're going to be all in our own homes. It's great that you're here. I hope that you've got some knitting that you're doing. And oh, I've just realised I've changed colour. I've gone on to orange. I didn't realise that. So it's lovely to have you with us today. Hopefully you've got your knitting and hopefully you've got a drink, although mine is not in my Gogglefrogs branded mug today. Naughty me. And hopefully you're fine. The weather outside today looks a little bit grey, but hopefully it will be fine. So I think I'm going solo today. I know Robert's at work and we had a lovely Gogglefrogs yesterday evening with Robert and Claire. And I know that Claire has just finished for the summer, finished work for a little while. So she's probably having a lovely time relaxing at the moment. So anyway, absolutely lovely to see you. So without further ado, I'm going to say good mornings to people. And is it top to bottom or bottom to top? Who knows? So we're going to say good morning. I know it's now that we're all starting to get used to the world again. So we're all starting to go out, aren't we? Social distancing and being careful and wearing our masks. Because remember, as of tomorrow, legally, we have to wear masks. And I'm sure that I'm just going to walk in somewhere and totally forget. So just remember to have several masks or a scarf, and let's face it, we can rustle up a quick scarf in no time, can't we? So we've got no excuses. Or a little balaclava. That's what my husband tends to wear when he goes shopping. He puts a little balaclava on. So that's just him, and he's always got it in, you know. Why has he always got it in his car? Well, he just needs it in his car. But yeah, he wears a little balaclava in there because he always wears it in winter when it's really, really cold. So anyway, just remember that you will need masks as of tomorrow, or a scarf. I don't think I could get away with just putting my hair around, but hey ho, and hopefully that made you chuckle. So we're going to go bottom to top. So good morning, Sally. Good morning, Marion. Good morning, Judy. Good morning, Janet. Help if I get my teeth in properly, won't it? Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Georgie. Good morning, Deborah. And good morning, Brigitte. And I know there's going to be more people watching. And it's lovely that we have so many people on replay. So if you're watching on replay, a big, big, big hello to you. And if you're watching on YouTube as well, a big hello to you. So we've got some music today. Robert has told me what it is. I have no idea what it is. You know me, and you know my taste in music is a bit different to certain people, but I am really, really looking forward to this because I have been delighted with some of the musical interludes that we've had over the last 18 to 19 weeks. So without further ado, I'm going to start playing today's musical interlude, and I really hope you're going to enjoy it too. Enjoyed that. I know that certainly in the chat box, everybody was saying how much they loved that. Can you believe I've never seen that film? I don't really do musicals, but I keep saying I'm going to have to do some. I know we've been through lockdown and I should have seen all of these, but I haven't. Yes, I know there was a comment about that dress, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, that dress was huge and beautifully sweeping. Just that is it, a few millimeters above the ground, so it was beautifully done. So yeah, I bet there were quite a few underskirts holding that out as well. So absolutely beautiful, and I know lots of you are avid sewers, seamstresses, doing lots of other things other than knitting and crochet. cross stitch, so you will have been able to actually understand how that was put together more than I did. I just saw the beauty of the whole dress, and all of those other outfits, absolutely amazing. So I really hope you enjoyed that. So let's go to chat, and if this is the first time that you're with us, I checked the chat because it's not there on replay, and so we just need to be able to know what everybody's been talking about. So good morning from Brigitte, good morning all from Jackie, morning everyone from Judy and Georgie and Janet. And then Jackie says that she's finally able to join us for the first time this week. Yay. No knitting as she's working, but we're on in the background, so that's lovely. Thank you ever so much for stopping by again, Jackie. Lovely to see you again. Deborah saying morning, and Jackie says, oh, another one of my favorites. I love this film. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to see it. Maybe at some point Robert will sit me down in front of the television and put the best films on for me, and it will give me, as I'll be knitting and as I'll have copious amounts of cups of tea, I'll be able to watch them, won't I? So that, yeah, lovely. I will watch it at some point. Brigitte says, so do I. That dress, and it was Brigitte who said that dress. Yeah, I love the fact that they just sweep across the floor, not hitting the floor, just slightly above the floor. And I don't actually know how they do that perfectly. But I think my wedding dress did that. Yeah, my wedding dress skimmed across the floor. Funny story, I had two of everything. I had two ministers. I had my minister and the minister that because we wanted to use another church because it was Art Deco. So we had my minister, and it was actually that she was mentoring the minister at the church we wanted to use, so that we did that. I waited over 20 weeks for my wedding dress. When it arrived, I didn't like it, so I went out and bought another one. Bearing in mind my wedding dress was quite straight, the first one, and then I had what, 4 or 5 weeks left before the wedding, so I walked into a shop and found the most amazing dress just on the peg. It fitted beautifully, and I have to say it was pretty much the size of that dress in there. So I went from pretty straight to the different dress. The funniest thing was I hadn't even thought about the size of the dress for the wedding car, so I could barely get into the wedding car because the dress is just too big. And then I couldn't sit on, we had these old vintage ones. They were lovely. But yeah, it was so funny as I was trying to get my dress into the car. So I do remember that this dress just somehow just skimmed the whole of the all of the there were just acres and acres in this hotel, and we just walked for miles, and I didn't have a spot of mud or anything on the bottom of my dress. It was quite amazing. So I know what it's like to wear a big dress like that. It was wonderful, for once only, but yeah, it was lovely. So that was great. And Janet saying some dress, absolutely. Brigitte says, I wonder how many toilet rolls you can hide under that. I know. Isn't it funny? We still all know somebody who had one of those dolls on top of the toilet rolls, and you could get copious amounts there. Deborah says, love the king and I. Brigitte says, it's a good dress for social distancing. Now there's an idea. We could go to any supermarket then, couldn't we? We just need 1 meter. That's all, meter, and that would do it perfectly. Oh wow. Good point. Just think about the ironing that dress. You'd need to have somebody to do it for you, wouldn't you? Absolutely. Oh, maybe one of those upright ones, you know, the ones that just let out the steam that they use, I think, on places like QVC. So they just do that on all of the outfits to make sure all the creases are out before they go live. Linda says, good morning. Deborah says, welcome to you, Jackie. And Georgie says, that was lovely. My favourite version of the King and I. Oh, is there more than one? These are the sort of things I get to know. And do you know what? I'm going to have to be really careful here, because I did a little bit of knitting when I was upstairs last night, didn't I? When I was doing in Gogglefrogs. And I have to make sure that this is 32 centimetres. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if it isn't longer than that now. So let me have a little check, because you know what it's like when we start knitting. Right, so that's 28. I've got about 2 rows left to do. About 2 rows, so that's quite good, isn't it? I can't believe how long it is taking me to do this, but often some of the smallest items that we actually knit take us the longest. Right, what row am I on now? That's the other thing. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So this is, I'm on an easy row now, but some of the rows I have to knit 4 together. And you can't make that look elegant. And I keep saying this every time. And I know Trisha, I think Trisha has knitted this. And it is very true. You just can't make it look elegant at all. You just look rather clumsy as you're knitting 4 together. So here we go. Just even it all up. And I think I've got 1 or 2 rows. That's it. Which is quite amazing. There we go. Do you know what? I don't know if I've gone wrong with that. Let me have a quick look. I'm just wondering if I've got enough in that. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know. I might have to go back. Do you know what? I'm going to go back and frog this just in case. You're in the right place, aren't you? I might do that a little bit later. I just want to double check because it's so close to the end. I think I've forgotten to do a couple of yarn overs in between. So I will do that later. It's going to take me too long during this, isn't it? But I've got loads of projects that I'm ready to go on to after this. This is for my little niece. And if you didn't know, she asked for a rainbow jumper. So these are the rainbow colours. Sorry, a rainbow cardigan. And then she wanted a lion, a tiger, a giraffe, and a rat. Don't know where the rat comes from. So we had a discussion once on here and agreed that I can put them on in buttons. So I'm sure she'll be okay. She did want a rainbow, so I've made it in rainbow colours rather than a rainbow. We'll see how that goes down. But I'm sure she will tell me if she's not overly happy with it. She's that sort of girl. She's not rude, she's just honest. So yeah, so it'll be quite amusing. Oh, so Brigitte says maybe it's nerdy, but I count the rows when knitting jumpers so that the front and back are exactly the same for sewing together. Do you know what, Brigitte? It may be a suggestion for me to do that, but on here it doesn't actually say how many rows to do that. It just says continue shaping until continue without shaping until it measures X. So maybe I'll try, but I always forget to count the rows. I always get into something, whether it's this, whether it's TV, whether it's chatting, and then I think, how many rows have I actually done without clicking that little thing? But maybe I'll have another go. So it's always fun, isn't it, finding out how other people make sure things are perfect. But there is a story. I tend to do things that are quite plain colours. There's me in red and black today. But I had this beautiful, it was called Peacock? May have been Peacock or Petrol from Erica Knight, and it was a linen. And it was lovely. And I actually bought it when she was at our local yarn shop. I'd been wanting this yarn. And I bought that when she was there, and I bought a couple of other things. I think she thought, oh my God, how much have you spent? She's like, no, I've been saving rather than the shop, because you've come here, so I want to buy your stuff. Anyway, I was knitting the fronts up and obviously got so carried away. Now, both of them are different lengths. And both of them, I have no idea what I've done, but one has a round collar up here and one's got a round collar down there. So I have totally mixed that up. So I need to take both of them back to below the sleeves, make them even. I need to unpick the whole blinking lot, and then just knit them both. But I'm going to knit them both at the same time. So I do one row, one row, one row, one row. So they're both going to be there. So I'll have two different balls of wool. And just make sure that they're right length. But the thing is, it's so hard, isn't it? Even if you're 2 rows out between the front and back, you think, oh, I can't notice it while I'm actually knitting this, but you can. You will notice it in the fall of that garment. So I absolutely get Brigitte, but you do need to be really careful. And the one I've done is there's no buttons, which is perfect for me. I hate doing buttonholes. That's the one thing I hate. I will try and do anything but do a buttonhole. I've never found a type of buttonhole that I actually like. And they never look as good as I would like them to look either. But this has got no buttonholes. It just folds. It's lovely in linen. It's got a beautiful drape. It's got a sheen, but it's not shiny. The colour has got beautiful depth as well, but I just need to finish that. And hey ho, I'm nearly at the end of summer, because let's face it, we're in July, we've got August, and then that's it, we're into autumn. So I do need to finish that at some point, but I've got so many projects on that I don't think I'm ever going to finish everything. I think I'm actually going to have to try and pay somebody to make some of my things for me, but hey ho, I'm sure I'll get some things done eventually. Brigitte says it never says the rows, just measures, but I count the rows as well, put in a marker every 10 or 20 rows. I like that. That's something that I can absolutely do. So stitch markers are going to be on there, and I can count every 10 rows. So that will certainly make it much easier. And I am presuming you keep all those stitch markers on until you finish the garment, because that will work perfectly. So thank you very much, Brigitte. It's amazing how much I learn. Janet says, I knit the fronts together, so they are the same length and the same shape. Yes, I have learnt the hard way. So I'm going to be doing that. Brigitte, oh no, that was Brigitte saying maybe it's nerdy. It is not nerdy counting the rows. When we spend so much time making these beautiful garments, if you're 2 rows more on one side than the other, you notice, and then you don't wear the blinking thing. So thank you for that tip. I am going to do that now. And then I love stitch markers for easy counting. Yeah, I've done stitch markers there. I've never done them down there. So that's perfect. That is something that I will start to do. And again, with the stitch markers, it's that I'll be using the cheapy ones, because there's no weight in those. And I'll do that. Also, I'll probably need hundreds. And I have all these beautiful stitch markers that are there for special things. And as I place them on the stitch, I get very excited with all my lovely stitch markers. So I now have, I've got a few that I've purchased from different events and different shops that I've been into. But yeah, I know I have them, but I tend to keep them for best. It's like a pair of shoes, isn't it? You realise 5 years later, I've never worn them. So that's lovely. Oh, good morning, Safi. Lovely to see you. And you've been on holiday, haven't you? So hopefully you had a beautiful time on holiday. Popping in for a bit whilst getting ready to go out. So lovely to see you. And Linda says, good tip that, Brigitte. It is. I love that. And as I can never, ever, ever keep the stitch marker clicker going. I will be doing that from now on. So thank you. I love new hints and tips. And that's what we're here to do, aren't we? So we should probably have a hints and tips day, shouldn't we? I know there's a few things that we've been saying that we will do. Things about different weights of wool and how to substitute. And I know there's a book coming out later in the year that Dawn recommended. And also we were going to say about where to go for certain things, and before we invest in different needles, maybe we can have discussions about, you know, what are the cubics like, what are those other beautiful, the carbons. I have got a pair of carbons. I have no idea where they are. What happens is I do a project, and if I'm halfway through a project, they get wrapped up in that bag, and I think I know where they are. I do know where my cubics are. That's in the Norro bag. I got a beautiful gift. Thank you very much, Georgia. Got a beautiful gift. I think it was for my birthday last year, and it was like some Norro. Oh wow! And there were a pair of cubics in there as well, and they were lovely to knit with. I tend to use Zings most of the time, and I know we have all our favoured, but I've also been looking at the, I don't know whether it's Flickr or Leica. It's not Leica because that's camera lenses, I believe, types of cameras, but they're a wooden knitting needle as well. And they're all made out of, I do believe they're all made out of driftwood. And it'd just be nice if we can share how we find them all and what sort of wools they work best with, because I do have different things for different types of wool. Some wool I find very slippy. It comes flying off the needles, which is why I don't do lace weight stuff. And I found the carbons were really, really good for holding the wool where it needed to be. And then other times you need something like Zing that allows them to slip easily because the wool holds. And sometimes when we're working on very, very small work, you know, 2.5, 3 millimeter, sometimes you need something a little bit more slippy. But we will have those discussions about what to use. Yeah, so please let us know what tips you have, because we all need to well, we all need to continue learning, don't we? That's what we do with our knitting and our crochet. And I'm actually going to do one of Robert's workshops on his crochet, because something I always struggle with, I know that you know, crochet is not my go-to. Knitting is my absolute go-to. It's just keeping the edges perfectly straight. And that is the one thing that in crochet doesn't really matter, because if it's a snood, it's going around my neck most of the time. But I couldn't gift a crochet item unless it was in squares. I can do squares, I can do anything like that, but when it comes to straight edges with crochet, and that's one thing that Robert does and teaches, and yeah, so I'm going to do one of his courses, his workshops at some point, so and make sure that I can do straight edges in crochet. But that's me admitting where I struggle in crochet. It's not with the stitches, I can do those, but then I always think, do I knit that last bit or do I not? I never know. And at what point do I turn? When I look at other people's crochet edges, they are absolutely perfectly straight, just like in knitting. Is my knitting straight? But yeah, so that's something that I just need to get a little bit better at. So let's have we're going to be going on to Facebook, and what happens is we never have much to show on a Thursday morning because we've shown everything on the Wednesday night, haven't we? So I am going to have a look at those. Yeah, and Brigitte says most of the tricks I learned were from my mutty, her mum, who was a superb knitter. Yeah, I think I learnt, well, I learnt most things from just watching my nana. And we used to go to my nana's house, it's my mum's mum. And I've said before, she used to knit, she could knit an Aran jumper in a week. You know, we'd say what my dad told her what size he wanted. She measured him, and by the end of the week, there was just this huge Aran jumper that I know I've shown in the past. And it's beautiful, and it's still there. It's still beautiful now. And you just think, how on earth can they do that in a week? But I just used to watch her. And she used to sit there. I always remember Saturday afternoon, she had a bag of sweets down the side of her chair. My uncle, he had some down the side of his chair because he was still living at home. And she used to sit there knitting with the there was giant haystacks and Big Daddy, all of the wrestling that used to be on a Saturday afternoon, and I hated that. So I just used to watch her, and I was just fascinated how she would be like this the whole time. I thought, you don't even look at the pattern. She'd look and say, oh, what do I need to do on this row? And then she'd never ever refer to it again. So it's quite incredible watching her. But like you say, Brigitte, I think certain people were just exceptional, and it didn't matter what sort of pattern I gave her. I know I wanted a cardigan at one point. It just all had all the bubble stitch everywhere. This was in the 80s. I went the following week and I had this huge, beautiful light orange. I don't know if you remember the sweets, they were called spangles. And it was like spangle orange, I remember. Actually, it was a bit like that orange. Yeah, spangle orange. And I had this huge, beautiful 1980s thing with all bubbles on it. So I don't know if you had somebody who used to knit things like that for you. And then another time, with another stitch, you had to wrap the wool around your finger and the needle as well, and then knit it. So you had loops. And I always remember watching, thinking, how on earth is she making those loops? How do you do that? So I knew how to do that from probably about 5, when I was just watching her doing that. And I think there were quite a few baby coats that she used to make. But then back in the day, you know, she had 9 children, and that's how they got their winter woolies, wasn't it? You had to knit them. So I think we do it as a pastime, as a craft to enjoy. But back then, you had to make sure that people were fully clothed and they were warm and they had something to go to school in, and that they weren't going to get cold. And as a jumper went into holes, you had to darn it and make it good again. And I did that. Do you know what? I did something with my husband's jean. I darned his jeans. They were coming loose at the seams. So I darned them the other day. So I did them with one needle first, and then I went with a much smaller needle again around. So I darned his jeans. So hopefully I'll have another couple of weeks wear out of them. But back in the day, we did learn from people, didn't we? Deborah says, agree with you, read the edges, and it's not just me then. Yes, I look and it's just like, as I'm just trying to autocorrect, thinking, what the heck do I do when I get to the end of the row? I know I can make the middle of it look wonderful, but the edges, it's just hilarious. So I'm glad I'm not the only person. Thank you, Deborah, together there. And Georgie says, my dad always watched the wrestling. I disliked it too, and I remember spangles. Yeah, do you know what? The wrestling was always on at the same time as Basil Brush, and I get really excited every week thinking, she'll forget what's on the other side. She'll forget that wrestling's on, and she'll leave me to watch this. And you know what used to happen, don't you? Because we didn't have television remotes then, so I'd be sat there in front of Basil Brush thinking yes, and all of a sudden she'd get out of her seat. She'd take 3 steps to the TV, and she'd go like that and go, boom. And then all of a sudden the wrestling would be on. She's like, oh, let me watch the knitting. So that's what used to happen. So spangles, yeah, we had spangles back then. There were like a blackcurrant flavour. There was the orange flavour. I think you got somewhere they were all multi flavoured. But yeah, and they used to, so it was like sherbet in with an orange sweet. I just really liked them. So hey ho. Anyway, we're going to go on to Facebook now and see what's in Facebook. Let me just refresh. So I'm just going to refresh quickly. Just wait. It's going a little bit slow today. There we go. Right, let's have a quick look. And just remember, when I'm showing you another page. I can't actually see what's in the chat, so I'm not leaving you. If you put a comment in there, I'll pick that up when we get back. Right. And I am going a few minutes early today, and that's because I've got a Skype call at 11 with my dad, who's in the care home. So I'm going to jump off this and make sure I'm okay. I'm ready for that. Right, okay. Here we go. So we're on our Gogglefrogs knit and natter. So Marion's not with us today. Her and her husband are at the podiatrist. So that's nice, isn't it, that we're starting to get normality back. Do you know what the other lovely thing was? My dad's currently in respite care after he was in hospital, and the care home rang me a couple of days to just say that the chiropodist's going in. If my dad wanted anything doing, if I wanted to drop the money off for it, and I said it's okay. We dropped cash off ages ago, so it's in his account. They have a little float account, I suppose. So my dad's going to get his feet done. So it's nice that things are starting to happen. We just need to be careful. That's all. Keep ourselves safe. Go about our own business, and we just have to queue a little bit more, and things take a little bit longer, don't they? Now this is interesting, Dawn. A folk song about a fisherman and his Gansey jumper. I have no idea. So I will have a look at that. As somebody's put a little tier, do I take it that looks as if it's something that's not very well or so anyway, I will possibly listen to that, but that's about a Gansey jumper. So I just want to say huge welcome to people, our new people within the group. So that's Donna, Kay, Carol, Jane, Nessa, Joanna and Nikki, and I think overnight we've had about 7 or 8 people join. So it's yeah, it's certainly, so thank you ever so much for sharing the word, and for people wanting to come to our little community, our goggle frogging community, which is always good, isn't it? That's funny. Welcome everyone, welcome to the madhouse. Yeah, it is a madhouse. You never quite know what's going to happen. All you do know is I'm going to frog some work at some point, and I need to frog that from last night. I'll just check it when I've got a little bit more time. So this is from Karen. So she's new to the group. Lovely to have you join us. Thanks for adding me to the group. Lockdown project whilst awaiting a yarn delivery. 8 months later, decided to repurpose, and wow. That's lovely, isn't it? I love that colour, and I love that. I love the sleeves on it. And if it's one thing about the sleeves, I love that. I never know which sleeves are which, but I love the detail there on that sleeve. So please just explain to me, is that raglan or what is it? I don't know, but I love that. And the colour is just amazing. Quick block and needs some buttons. So I know that that's lovely. Thank you. Not knitting related, but finished this little sketch of the lighthouse. Zebra, we did show that yesterday, but it should have another mention, shouldn't it? I know it is beautiful, and I hope you had a lovely, lovely time. I know we're in, well, most people are in the south. So, no, not most people. I think a lot of people are in the south, but if you've never been to Flamborough, it is a stunning area. And when there's places like Bampton, Flamborough, Bridlington, so there's RSPCA, RSPB places along that walking coastline. It's quite amazing. It's really quite rugged, and that's what you find with anything around Yorkshire. The countryside is quite rugged. So we have the moors, which are very stark but with beautiful colour and contrast, and just like here, you've got those beautiful clouds, and that's what you will always say. There's the odd days, isn't there, in summer where it's just beautiful blue sky, but I love that. And I've spent so much time on that coast and around the area, and my parents holidayed there for years. It was so nice that they, both of my dad's sisters had caravans in this. It was a really lovely, lovely place, this site. And I remember when I'd met my husband, we've been seeing each other for quite a while. I said, oh, we can go to the caravan. So he arrived from the south. He expected some tiny little caravan. And when he arrived, he turned around. It was so strange. It was like the north-south divide. And he went, I didn't realise that you'd have central heating. I didn't realise that you'd have a bathroom. I said, there is a bath in the caravan. So we spent so many happy years. And then my parents got another caravan there and replaced it for another one. And then when my dad retired and my mum retired, they used to spend the whole summer there. So they had decking outside, they had friends there. And it was a lovely, lovely retirement. And I think they, you know, for a good 10 to 15 years of their retirement, probably about 12 years of their retirement, they just loved it. Yeah, so it holds such special memories for me, and I know our whole family have spent so much lovely time there. We showed this as well yesterday, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you very much. And I think that's it from yesterday, because I know we only had our event at 8 o'clock last night. So from 9 o'clock last night to this morning, not much time. So yeah, maybe that's something that we should think about, is should we have this morning's one or should we change it slightly? Yeah, because we don't tend to have much to show, do we? But never mind. So let me go back to this. Brigitte says that song is very sad. Is it? Oh, do you know what? I'm somebody who doesn't always listen to words, and when I actually listen to words, I think, wow. So it's really quite strange, isn't it, how some of the words don't necessarily go with the music, or when you think it's a fisherman and a Guernsey. I will have a look. I have no idea. I've just had a look at the picture, and I think I think it may be very, very sad. And Brigitte says Yorkshire is God's country. My spiritual home from home. It is really quite. You can say it's quite haunting. It's very different. It's quite unique. Every area is, but I just find Yorkshire really quite rugged and nice, and it's never perfect. So I think often we try and make things into perfect squares, where you just can't, because you have got rolling hills, so you can't make straight roads. Everything goes bendy, windy. Yeah, it's lovely, and it's just lovely walking along those cliffs. And I've actually got friends who used to, when there was going to be a really, really bad thunderstorm, they used to drive to the coast near Whitby, and they used to park in a car park overlooking the whole of the bay, and they used to take sandwiches with them, and they used to take a flask of coffee, and it might be 2 o'clock in the morning, but they would sit there and just watch the whole of like a thunderstorm or a rainstorm happen, especially if there was going to be lightning, etc. So it's amazing. It really is. And I know that I have got that little, it was from Bar Amu, and it's at my house. So I'm at my parents at the moment. And it's that little, it's not cross stitch, is it? It's not long stitch. I don't know. I'm not a stitcher, but I will be. So I have bought that little kit, and I will sit down and I will do that. And it's the inspiration is the farm that is in the middle of the M62. So the farmer refused to move, and they had to split the M62. So the lanes went around this farm that sits in the middle, and they had to put little walkways underneath so the cattle could go underneath the lanes of the motorway. So it's just quite unique, and I love the fact that somebody turned around and said, no, I will not move and you're not buying my land. So quite incredible. I love people like that who really dig their heels in. So when I finish that, I will let you know. So I'm just conscious it's now 11:15 and I'm so sorry to cut it short today, but if you can appreciate, I've got a Skype call with my dad and I need to log on for my dad. So I think what I'm going to do is close this a little bit early, if that's okay today. And I am going to see you again on, it's Saturday, isn't it? So our next show is going to be Saturday. It's quite interesting because we've got the show. We've got our normal Gogglefrogs, there's myself and there's going to be Robert there. And then after that, and as part of that, we're going to be sharing what's in the box. So Robert had 2 huge boxes and it's all, you asked for it, it's yarn. So we're going to be sharing that with you on Saturday. So anyway, you have an absolutely wonderful time. Enjoy tomorrow. No Gogglefrogs tomorrow, but please do post in the group and we will see you on Saturday at 10:30. Okay, you take care, have a lovely couple of days and we will see you very soon. Bye.